Hello, friends. Welcome to the Awesome Algebro. Today, we're going over the basic algebra lesson of distributive property. All right, to start off, the distributive property formula looks like this, where it has an outside number multiplying everything inside parentheses to come up with a final answer. Now, distributive property uses the concept of distribute, which means to give equally to all. Whenever you have a number right next to parentheses, it means multiplication. So you're going to multiply the outside number by all of the inside numbers to get your final result. So what distributive property really is you're multiplying the sum, you're adding things inside parentheses, you're multiplying the sum by each number, which would give you the same result as if you had multiplied each number separately and just added them together as well. Now, all of this might sound confusing in the beginning, but once you see it in practice, you'll see how easy the concept is. So let's go ahead and start. We'll start with the formula 2, open parentheses, 6 plus 4, close parentheses, which basically means 2 times 6 plus 4. Now, if we first see the problem and you use what we know from PEMDAS, where we would do the parentheses and PEMDAS first, normally we would just simply add 6 plus 4. Well, 6 plus 4 is 10. Okay, it's still inside parentheses, so we'll keep the parentheses there. We'll bring it down to 2. And now we have the math problem of 2 times 10, which obviously is 20. Okay, no problems there. What the distributive property formula or property tells us is that you would have gotten the same result if you would have multiplied the 2 on the outside by each of the numbers on the inside. So let's try. So we have the same problem, but this time we're going to multiply the 2 times the 6 and then separately multiply the 2 times the 4. So in our case, 2 times 6 is 12, but then 2 times positive 4 is positive 8. 12 plus 8 is 20, which gives us the same result that we got earlier. Now, a person may ask, well, Awesome Algebro, why are we doing it in this more complicated way when I could have just done it the first way you said with PEMDAS, just add the two numbers? When we have regular numbers like this, it's a lot easier, but it can get a little bit more difficult when you have problems like these and these. So we just want to make sure we understand how to do distributive property for all variables and numbers, not just with regular numbers that multiply. So let's take a look. We still use the same principle of distributive multiplication, where multiplying the sum by a number is the same as multiplying each number separately and just adding them together. Now, we want to put things together if possible. So I tried to put a little asterisk there to let you know, put things together if possible, which talks about the principle of combining like terms. So let's look at the problem that we just saw. 5, open parentheses, 3b plus 4, close parentheses, which is basically 5 times 3b plus 4. Now, if we use distributive property, the first thing we would multiply is 5 times 3b. Well, 5 times 3b would give you 15b, okay, because 5 times 3 is 15. But distributive property says if you multiply the first number, now we need to multiply the second number. 5 times positive 4. Well, what is 5 times positive 4? Should be positive 20. And 15b and 20 cannot combine because a variable and a number, you can't just put them together. That would violate combining like terms. If you're not sure about combining like terms, please check out that video at the end. All right, let's look at our next problem. Negative 7 times, open parentheses, 9a minus 2c. All right, same thing, distributive property. Negative 7 times 9a. Well, it's really negative 9 times 7, which is negative 63. So negative 63a. Now the next number, negative 7 times negative 2c. Please remember, a negative times a negative gives you a positive. So negative 7 times negative 2 should give you positive 14, positive 14c. And A's only combine with other A's. The letter C only combines with the other C's. So those two things would not combine. All right, let's look at things that are a little bit more complicated. Now, this one should go rather quickly. So 2 times 8x plus 3y minus z. All right, 2 times negative 8, 2 times 8x should give us 16x. Okay. 2 times positive 3y. So 2 times 3 should give us positive 6y. And last but not least, now don't get confused on this one, 2 times negative z. Remember, there's just one z, so 2 times negative z should give us negative 2z. All right, now let's try one that looks more difficult, but it's really not. Okay, it's really not. What happens when we use fractions? Whenever in doubt, just use your graphing calculator, use Desmos, or use whatever you need in this case. But it's the same principle. 1/2 times 10p minus 16n plus 24. All right, 1/2 times 10p. What's half of 10? It would be 5, 5p. Okay, half of negative 16n. What's half of negative 16? Negative 8, negative 8n. And then last but not least, what is half of positive 24? Well, half of positive 24 is positive 12. And there we go. All right, last situation, we're going to look at 2 examples and see if we can figure those out. All right, don't get intimidated by these questions because these are the type of questions you see with distributive property, and it combines a little bit of combined like terms. All right, 5 times 2a minus 7b plus 13b. So we'll multiply the first two. 5 times 2a should give us 10a. And then 5 times negative 7b should give us negative 35b. And then we'll bring the positive 13b, and let's just bring that down. At this point, let's put things together that are the same. If they have the same last names, we can put them together. All right, we see something that can be combined, and we want to combine like terms. Don't ever forget, combine like terms. What do we see that have similar last names? And it would be the b's. You have negative 35b, you have positive 13b. They both have the same b last name, so we can combine them. Negative 35 combined with positive 13 should give us negative 22. And in this case, negative 22b. We bring down the 10a, and those cannot combine, so that means we are done. Okay, let's go to the last one. This one uses fractions, and so let's not get confused, but you're going to find it so easy. All right, 2/3 times negative 6r. 2/3 times negative 6 should give us negative 4, negative 4r. All right, 2/3 times positive 18. That should give us positive 12. And now the next one, please don't get confused on this part where you have a negative on the outside, because the negative on the outside actually changes the symbols to everything on the inside. So a negative times a positive should give you a negative, negative 10r. Now in this case, a negative times a negative, so a negative times negative 20. A negative times a negative is a positive. So in this case, it should give you positive 20. And don't forget to combine like terms. So put things together that are the same. We'll take a look at negative 4r, and we'll take a look at, do we see anything similar? Yes, we see negative 10r. Just like we see positive 12, the regular number. Do we see any other regular numbers? Yes, we see positive 20. Now at this point, let's just put things together that are the same. You see the r's, let's put those together. Negative 4 combined with negative 10 should give you negative 14. Just like, let's put the regular numbers together. Positive 12 combined with positive 20 should give you positive 32. And those two things, the r's cannot combine with regular numbers. So that means in this case, we are done. All right, friends, I hope that helped you with distributive property, and I hope you're able to use this in your everyday classroom. Hey, friends, thanks for watching the Awesome Algebro. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for the most awesome algebra tips available. And again, thank you for making me a part of your day.